Hello and welcome to Baking on a Budget. Now what we've got this time is this marvellous and delicious steak bake. Really simple recipe, absolutely delicious. Got everything we need to make it over here. I'm going to tell you exactly what we've got, very simple ingredients, and then we'll get into putting this together. To begin with, I have got 350 grams of stewing steak, and that cost me £3.67. Price of beef has gone up in the UK here. We have one onion at 9p. We have 2 stock cubes at 24p. We've got about 225ml of hot water for the stock cubes. We've got 2 teaspoons of corn flour and a little cold water, and we have a roll of ready-made puff pastry at £1.28. The total cost for the recipe then is £5.32, and we're going to get 4 really delicious deep-filled steak bakes out of that for £1.33 each, which may seem a little expensive, but this is going to be an absolute delicious steak bake. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare the steak for this. As I say, this is a stewing steak. It comes in these cubes about so big, but they are a little bit big for a steak bake filling, I would say. Thing of personal taste, obviously. But what I'm going to do with those is I will cut that in half and then cut it in half again. We just want little pieces of beef in this. I think that's going to be the best way to go. So I'm just going to continue through this and we'll come back when I've got this all chopped up. Here we are, that's the steak prepared. As I say, just smallish pieces like this will be fine in a steak bake. Right, next thing, we're going to get this into a pan. Okay, so on the hob over a very low heat, I have a pan, and what I've done, I've just put a dribble of oil in the bottom of that. I'll take the beef and we just want to brown this off really in the pan first. Jolly good. Right, we'll let that brown off for a little while. Whilst it's doing that, might as well chop the onions up. Okay, so now what I want to do is just chop this onion. I'm going to chop this up fairly finely. There we go. So I'm going to chop it in half, slice it, and then finally chop it. Oh, that's the onion. As I say, very simple ingredients for this. The only other thing we want is to prepare the stock. Again, matter of personal taste, you could put other veg into this if you wanted to. Could put some carrot in, some celery. That would all be very nice as well. But this is just going to be a simple steak bake. I'm going to put 2 of these in. They're going to have a really rich and deep taste to it once it's done. And as I say, with this, I'm going to put about 225ml of boiling water over that. But we'll keep an eye on it, as it might need topping up as it cooks. Okay, the beef has browned at this point, and what I'm going to do is just transfer that back onto the plate. Very good. And then we'll get the pan back on the hob and fry the onions down. Right, let's just get the onions in the pan. There they go. Turn that gas up a little. And again, we just want to soften these really. Okay, onions are looking good. They've had a couple of minutes and they have softened nicely. So we'll add the beef back to the pan. Just combine all of that. Our stock is going over the top. That should do it. As I say, I'll keep an eye on this, and if it does need a little more water, later on in the cooking process, we can just add a little more. The only other thing to do with it, I'm going to give it a crack of black pepper. I'm not going to add any more salt to this because there's probably quite a lot of salt in those stock cubes. Now what I'm going to do is stick the lid on this, and this is going to stay on the hob just over a low heat, simmering away for about 2 hours. So we want that beef to be nice and tender, and normally takes about 2 hours with a stewing steak. We'll come back and test it, keep an eye on it, make sure the pan doesn't boil dry obviously, and then we'll be good to go. I'm going to save the corn flour till the end of this, just to see if the gravy needs thickening up at all before it goes into the pastry. Okay, and about 2 hours later, what we have here is the beef is looking excellent. I'm just going to take a little taste. I'm going to take a little piece out and taste it just to make sure that it's nice and tender. That is ready. Now, The gravy is still a little runny, so I am indeed going to add this cornflour. There we go. And we want to mix this in until we get a fairly stiff sort of gravy with this. We don't want it to be slopping out of the steak bakes. We want it to hold together a little bit, and that there is starting to look very good. You see, this is the thing with it. If you pull it across here and just watch how quickly the sort of gravy is flowing. If it's flowing too quickly, it looks too sloppy. Add a little more corn flour. And if indeed it's gotten too stiff, you can always add a little more water. But for me, that is looking just about right. So, next thing to do, we need to leave this to cool before we actually put it in the pastry cases. So I'm going to leave it there, switch gas off entirely. I'm going to leave it like that until it has entirely cooled. Okay, and whilst the filling is cooling a little, we can prepare the pastry cases for these. And what I have here, this is just a roll of shop-bought puff pastry. You can make your own puff pastry, but it does work out quite expensive if you're using butter, which is generally recommended. I know that this is not all butter, but it's a decent pastry and it does the job. So I'm just going to cut this in half, which is roughly there. I'm going to eyeball this. You could measure it if you wanted to, like that. And I'm going to cut it in half this way, which is about there. So that's going to give us our 4 steak bakes. These will simply, we'll put the filling in, and these will simply fold over and nip together. Right, we'll just separate this out, and we'll be back when our filling has cooled. Okay, the filling is cooled, the oven is warming up in the background, and what we're going to do is just evenly distribute this beautiful steak filling among these cases. And right, we want to get this, leave some space around the side because we do need to nip all this together, but we can get a bit more on that one, I think. That is going to be a real steak bake, look at that. A little bit more down there. We don't want to overfill them, or they could very well easily burst whilst they're baking. But again, we do want a generous filling. Now, the thing we want to do is get a little bit of egg wash around the edges of these. This will just help it to seal up properly. We want to get that over there and then just press it down gently on the side. That is going to be marvellous. Look how full that is. Right, I'm going to crimp this with a fork. And same with the next one. There we go. Now we're going to score these on the top because again we want to release any steam from them. So just a few scores on the top. Now I have my baking tray, and I should get all of those onto the one tray with a bit of luck. That one there. There we are. I'll just get rid of this paper. Now, last thing to do with these jokers is put a good coat of egg wash on them, get them nice and browned on top. And these are going into an oven at about 170 degrees centigrade. Conversions for this are in the description below the video, but this is going to be 170 degrees. They're going to stay in there for about 30-35 minutes. Obviously, as ever, I will keep an eye on them, and when they look good to go, we'll pull them out. Here they go. Okay folks, these have been in the oven for about 25 minutes, something like that. They're looking absolutely delicious, done to a turn. Right, I'm going to get these out onto a cooling rack, and I cannot wait to have a taste of one of these. They look absolutely delicious. I say these are £1.33 each. I've just had a look actually to see how much they are in the in Greg's, the well-known bakery store, and you would pay £2. But there's not as much filling. I saw someone dissect one of the Greggs one and actually weigh the filling, and it's about 2/3 of what you're getting here. So if you were to do the Greggs situation, the same weight, you'd probably get 5 of these, which would bring them down to about £1 a piece. But they're looking delicious. I'm going to let it cool just slightly, and then I'm going to get stuck in. So there it is, the steak bake. Look at that. That looks absolutely delicious. Smells delicious as well. I can't wait to get stuck into that. I'm going to take a slice off right now. Look at this. Beautiful steak in there, nice and tender, puff pastry around it. Absolutely beautiful. That's a winner, folks. Definitely. Definitely. Oh, that's delicious. The gravy is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And the steak, the bite-sized pieces. Marvellous. And so simple to make. Put the stuff in the pot and leave it for 2 hours. That's it. That's practically a meal in itself. So there it is, a delicious steak bake for £1.33. But that is a nice deep filling, lots of steak in there. As I say, the gravy is absolutely beautiful. If you get a chance to make these, please do try them. And as you've seen, a very simple recipe indeed. So can I say, if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more videos like this in the future, making absolutely delicious, very simple and very inexpensive recipes, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Next week we're going to be making something quite different. I'm going to make a chocolate tart next week, which I think will be delicious. So in the meantime, I'm going to finish off the rest of this steak bake, and I thank you very much for watching.